Hello and welcome back to the third rail. In today's video we're going to have a look at something I've had my eyes on for a while, which is a Seuthe signal box. Most of you will be familiar with Seuthe and their range of smoke generators that can be used in all sorts of scale models, locomotives, boats or houses for example. Seuthe invented and patented the smoke generator as we know it in 1959, and it's the product on which the company was built. But it's not the only product Seuthe produced over the years. There was a brief period in the 1960s where Seuthe also produced a range of scenic items, such as the towers you see on screen now. There's a radar tower at the top and a VOR tower at the bottom. And it's also during that time that the little signal box, which is the topic of this video, was produced. The signal box is not just a signal box. It's got a little party trick hidden inside it in the form of a smoke fluid dispenser. There were quite a few versions of the product, which can make the topic a bit confusing. We had ready-assembled versions, the 105, which came with a signal box, the pump, an electromagnet and a light. There was also a 105A, which only came with the signal box, so no pump, no light, no magnet. At the same time, there was a 105B, which was a kit, so the signal box to be assembled and a pump, so no magnet, no light with this one. For people who had bought the versions without a pump, there was a kit that could be purchased in the form of the 106, which contained the pump, an electromagnet and a light. And there were two additional versions of the signal box. Apparently they were sold in the US only, but I'm really not sure about that. So we have the 107, which contained the signal box and just the pump, and a 107E, which is the same as the 105, so we have the signal box, a pump, electromagnet and a light. As far as I'm aware, Seuthe used the same box, whatever the version of the signal box, and they used a few stickers to customize the box based on what was inside. For example, they used a sticker to hide a few features such as the magnet and the operating voltage in the text on the side of the box here. So, in my case, I acquired a version 107, which is just the signal box and the smoke fluid dispenser, the pump. Time to have a look at what's inside the box. Let me just take the cover off. So, we have a set of instructions. The original ones, which is always good, with a nice picture of a steaming locomotive at the front, how appropriate, and a few instructions, assembly instructions and operating instructions inside the leaflet. Very good. So now it's time for the pièce de résistance. Let's take the signal box out. There we go. So, yeah, it doesn't look too bad. There's a few bits of damage here and there on the decals, but apart from that, everything is straight and the signal box looks complete to me. It's the first time I have one in my hands, so difficult to tell, but nothing seems to be missing. Very good. So if we lift the roof, we should be able to access the smoke fluid dispenser or pump, and indeed it is there. So the working principle behind this thing is that a locomotive passing under the dispenser will catch it with its chimney and swing it in the direction of travel, and in the process some fluid will be dispensed into the smoke generator. This sounds a bit complicated to me, so let's take this dispenser out and have a closer look at it to see how it works. And there we are. So we have the see-through part of the assembly, which is the reservoir. We've got a nozzle, which can be unscrewed by the looks of it. There's a little hole in it. And on the other side, we've got a spring-loaded lever that's attached to the axle around which the assembly swivels from side to side. Okay, I don't see where the pumping action's coming from. So the only part of the dispenser that can be removed from the dispenser is the nozzle. So that would be where the smoke fluid would go in order to fill up the dispenser. And then if I turn it in the position it would be normally. I see, it works like a pipette on a vacuum principle. When there's liquid in the reservoir, it stays in the reservoir and doesn't escape through the hole of the nozzle because there is no air flowing into the reservoir from anywhere else. So when the lever is actuated, it pushes down a plunger which pushes on a little rubber membrane, which itself pushes the liquid through the nozzle and only dispenses a small amount in the process. Very clever. Mystery solved. And now that I've satisfied my curiosity, we can go back to the signal tower. So it can be adjusted up or down by pushing or pulling, depending on the direction, until one has reached the desired height. So that means that it can be used without the dispenser as a simple decoration with overhead lines, for example. The dispenser simply slides into some slots on the signal tower. So it needs to be inserted straight, like so. The swivel axle needs to be inserted into a little clip inside the signal box. This is to avoid it being pushed upwards by the locomotives. Then the height of the signal box needs to be adjusted. So for this we need a bit of track and a steam locomotive. The height should be adjusted in a way that the chimney of the locomotive engages in the nozzle, drags it along to the other side of the signal tower in the direction of travel, and at that point the spring-loaded mechanism would engage and lift the dispenser up so that it's ready to fill another locomotive traveling in the other direction. So that was the theory, but in practice the adjustments proved quite tricky to get right. At first I spent a couple of hours trying to adjust height and the position of the lever inside the signal box to try and get the thing to work, but I failed miserably. I always ended up in a position where the dispenser would fall back to its upright position, which is not how the thing is supposed to operate. So before engaging into some drastic surgery, I decided to leave things well away for a few hours and come back to it a bit later. So we are a day later. I left myself a bit longer to think about this. And after fiddling with the signal box a bit more, I realized I had been approaching the problem the wrong way. I had been focusing on the ability of the chimney to drag the nozzle along. And what I should have been doing to start the adjustment was in fact to place the locomotive under the signal box where the nozzle would be at its lowest point. Then push the signal box house up or down so that the nozzle barely touches the top of the chimney. And with this done, if I then push the locomotive to the right, we should see that the nozzle moves along with the chimney and that the dispenser then clicks into its locked position. Very good. Now if we pull the locomotive the other way round, the same happens on the other side. Click and click. Excellent. So now I just need to adjust the clearance of the nozzle so that it doesn't touch the body on the way. But that's something I can also do on the layout. So let's move there for the next step. And I'm going to set it up in the little shunting area on one of the tracks there. So it's the same process as before, it's just a matter of sliding the signal box base under the track and reattaching the track over it, and then adjust the position so that it's more or less centered above the track. Right, time to get a locomotive and give it a go. Excellent. Let's go in the other direction. Cool. Let's try again. Super. So the reservoir of the dispenser is empty, so I must have had a few drops of smoke fluid remaining inside the smoke generator. Oh well, never mind, here goes the effect. We can fill up the dispenser regardless, so I need to turn it on its head so that the nozzle points upwards. Then I can unscrew the nozzle and inject a bit of smoke fluid in the reservoir with my trusty syringe. Then it's just a matter of screwing the nozzle back on and turning the dispenser so that the nozzle faces towards the locomotive. So if I move the locomotive towards the signal box now, it should fill up the smoke generator with a few drops of smoke fluid. Let's go again in the other direction to see if things still work. They do. Excellent. Let's have a look at the top of the locomotive now. Well, it's not the cleanest job, but it did pour in some smoke fluid into the generator. Excellent. And if we look at the dispenser, we can see that the track is dry and that the liquid indeed stays in the dispenser. Let's try and send the locomotive across the signal box again, just to see the mechanism in action from this angle. So there we go. Let's change direction. Oops, I'm getting stuck and I've overfilled my smoke generator. Anyway, I'll need to practice, I think. But it's definitely working as it should. Excellent. Now, let's try this with another locomotive. Let's see if a BR52 will go under there. Yes, excellent. Brilliant. Well, it looks like this little gadget has the potential to provide quite a lot of fun over time. There's one more question in my mind, which is what would the version with an electromagnet do in addition to what we've seen so far? The mechanical version in this video is always active, meaning by that the nozzle will always be in the way of a chimney passing through the signal box. The only way to deactivate the refill function is to manually move the dispenser to the side or on its head. This is where the magnet comes in. It provides a deactivation function. It achieves this by lifting the dispenser a bit to the side. There's still a bit of play where the levers are located. Doing this will move the head out of the way of any passing locomotive. If I ever manage to get my hands on one of those, I shall make a little video about it. Right, we've reached the end of the video for today. I hope you enjoyed following my little journey of discovery. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. It's very much appreciated. I'd also like to thank all the subscribers to the channel who found the content interesting enough to click the subscribe button, activate the notification bell, and even give me a like from time to time. That's all very rewarding and keeps me going. Thank you very much again for this. Bye for now.